All right, happy Monday. I want to take a moment to walk through some charts with all of you, share some of my thoughts about the week ahead, and I hope that you find this helpful. If you do, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. The engagement does let me know that you guys are finding these helpful and you do want more. So I've been kind of following the market and seeing how we were trending ahead of this month's CPI and PPI, everything has been definitely bullish. Not everything, I won't say that, but the stocks have been moving really well since the last time I did a deep dive into the charts. We've been breaking all-time highs, and so now it's time to take a look at what we have ahead. One thing I do want to call out is that tomorrow we do have CPI reports coming out before the market opens, so make sure that you are paying attention to that pre-market. And as you see how the market is trending once these reports are out, so 7:30 Central my time, then you want to go ahead and start planning your day as far as any trades that you may want to take for the day. Otherwise, it's, make sure you have proper risk management. Another thing is on Wednesday, we're going to have PPI reports coming out. We also have some labor data, oil. So just be mindful of all of these reports coming out, and make sure that you have proper risk management in place for your trades. So I'm going to take us through the QQQ chart first. And I will try to move quickly so that way we can get through quite a bit of the market moves for this week. All right, so let's go to the daily chart on QQQ. And as most of you know by now, one thing I do like to look at is how we're trending from the daily. And you can also do a top-down analysis. So when I'm doing a real deep dive into the charts, I want to see where we are as well on the monthly chart. And then I also want to see where we are in the weekly chart. So again, everything right now looks really bullish. We are already closing and holding above the month high from June, which was 552. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. We're already above June's high for the month of July, so we have not slowed down yet. We have hit a ceiling. Um, let's see. So when we look at the 2-week chart, yeah, we've hit a ceiling after we broke the high. So right now, really the move would be whether or not we start holding above that 557.20. We did do 557.63 and get a wick in there if you look at it from the 2-week chart, but we still need to kind of start holding above that. So as you see QQQ trending, I would say like in 558, then we're probably starting to make more highs from there. But this is where we are right now. We do have to have a breakout here. We had that high on the week of July 7 where we hit 557.63. So that's our all-time high right now that we have logged in on QQQ. So I guess what we're asking ourselves now is are we due for a pullback? And if so, how much of a pullback can we get? Or are we going to break that 557.63 level? And do we see ourselves hitting more all-time highs for the month of July? So I think that there's still an opportunity for us to break out some more. I think we have some earnings coming up that could really drive QQQ further up. We'll have to look into those. So I'm going to take some time, probably as homework, to look into some of the earning reports that we have coming up. So when I look at QQQ from the daily, one thing I looked at was the previous day, which is Friday. We did go back and sweep Friday's low, a nice wick right here. But where we landed was closing at 556.21 to the low of Tuesday. Sorry, Friday was 552.05, high 555.79, and we're closing at 556.21. So I think we're still looking to see if we'll continue to hold above this Friday candle. We did break out again. We did sweep through the low of our Tuesday, and I believe that would have been early. Yeah, actually, yeah, it was the early move. It was actually a profitable move to take to the downside. And then where you would have really seen the best move was at the point of reversal, right? So if you look here on QQQ, I've switched to pre-market, so that's whenever you go in and you're looking at the extended hours. And so one of the things that the Wolf traders we look at is our pre-market high and low. All right, so on the Wolf chart, we now have pre-market high and low box that we can follow. Um, I typically go into extended hours, grab the levels for this box, and I go back to my regular hours for the rest of any moves. But you pretty much could have grabbed this downtrend here. Really nice move. Fast and quick. And as soon as it hit this order block right here and it wicked through, again, I'm on extended hours, it bounced. And so then from the bounce, we got a break of pre-market high. So we couldn't hold below pre-market low. We got a nice wick through, which was a signal, a clue through these order blocks. So if I just took a little measure here, just gonna roughly put in some levels real quick. How we typically take this is I just set alerts. All right. So when the market opens, I grab the high and the low, and I just set alerts. I don't have time to sit and watch anything. So if I get alerts triggered, that's cool. But being that I was already setting alerts, I caught quickly that this was coming down. So once we got to this order block here, I just knew that the chances of it swinging down were going to be less likely without enough of a, I guess, catalyst to drive this further down. So the best move after we got to this order block was to be into lock in profit. One tip for you guys is when you're trading, especially even in your day trades, is that you move your stop loss up, right? So just take a quick click and adjust your stop loss to make sure that once you're getting the profit and you're getting closer to your target, if you want to try to capture more of a move rather than kind of stick with the original stop loss, slide your stop loss in profit. That way, let's say if you slide it just right here, or even if you slide it right above this order block once we were in it, then you're going to get stopped out, but you're getting stopped out in profit. That's what we want. We want to make sure that our green trade remains green. Now, from there, QQQ was able to break through. We get an inverse arc. We get our EMAs being reclaimed right here, starting with the 12 and VWAP. Then we get to the 200 with a test. And then once we were able to confirm with a break and retest of the pre-market, the next time we came to pre-market high, we were off on a more bullish move. So I would say with QQQ, you're going to just want to watch it. I think watching it pre-market right would give you the best opportunity to see possibly where we're headed and see if those pre-market levels will hold in either direction once the market opens. So right now, if you look at kind of after hours, we are just holding on above 555, which is still good. And if I was to trade QQQ going into tomorrow, one thing that I will tell you is just to one, measure your pre-high and low for the day before, right? I would still keep in mind that Friday's high as well and Friday's low. We went through both areas. We were able to grab liquidity down here and then we popped all the way back up. So keep that in mind. And let's get out of extended hours for a second on QQQ. Yeah, so 557.63 is the key breaking point for the all-time high. But other than that, you're kind of looking to see if we will come under 555, retrace back to this 554, 552 area, and then further down. That's what I'll be watching. There's nothing too significant that I want to call out for the upside because, again, we're at all-time high levels. So it really is just a matter of breaking each day high. And then if we do come back up to 557.63, do we break that? So that's the story in QQQ. Super bullish. I mean, it's been moving like crazy. Yes, at some point it will have to come down. And ideally, we want to see at some point price come back to the 200. I'd probably watch that action more so on the 4 hour chart. And really what I'd be looking for is that pullback to probably about the 540s. I don't know if we come any lower, but right now there's so much bullish order blocks and fair value gaps created from all these gap ups that I can't say which gap will come back and fill, but I do know that we have a few, and maybe the closest one would probably be somewhere with this gap right here. So we can see if we ever come back to 536. But I think right now, overall, the market is trending up. And so if you're in, what I was saying is if you're in any type of short term trades to the downside, you really want to focus on targets, right? Like if you're going to counter trade the trend, you really got to be out at your target. So once you catch a downtrend and you get to these type of areas, you're looking to the left to see what price is doing every time we get here, and you can just see it, right? We got here, we pop, right here, pop, here, pop. And so the trend is definitely every time we've come here, we've respected this area. So 551 is holding as support right now. I wanted to take you next to the Tesla chart. So let's go there. And so you probably, if you got into our a trade early in the day, you probably thought, man, Tesla's taking off, right? In which it did. Like the opening candle was $6, right? Like $6 move. We opened at 317. And by the time they closed at 322, and by the time they hit a high of 322.60, they started to give this wick. So we closed at 320.41. So yes, in one candle in Tesla, if you're able to catch it at 517, you could have rolled it up to 522 and been out one candle. You probably would have had to catch that from a 2 minute or so. Nevertheless, what happened was we rejected that level at 522 and we pulled back pretty strong. And so basically what I'm looking at right now is that Tesla is holding support well around that 314 area. And so we broke that level here, as you can see. We came back and retested, and so far we've been validating that it's holding as support on Tesla. What I found was that if I go to the 1 hour chart on Tesla, there is that area here that has been holding Tesla back, which is from my wolf chart, we see it as this bearish order block, right? So all of this red zone here has to clear. But we're getting some good signals from the last pullback on Tesla that it does want to try to do something. However, it's going to be tricky right here, ultimately for this area to be cleared and for us to start moving further up, we have to kind of get above 331, 332. And the cleanest trade, honestly, looking at it from the 1 hour, is whenever Tesla's above 335. Probably like 335.50, right? 58 is what I'm seeing here. If we can break above that, then you have a nice clean gap from this time frame. So something to consider here. But if you can get a nice pullback on Tesla ahead of earnings and it makes sense from your confirmations, then there could still be some more bullish movement to come on Tesla. What I'm seeing is that we're in a very narrow state here, and I'm getting my 200 and my 12 EMA, 200 weighted moving average is what I have on my chart, and my 12 EMA coming together, potentially to cross. That's what we want to see. This will be a bullish cross. If the whole cloud, which is this 200 cloud here, this range here, and this 12 cloud here, crossing up, this could be another bullish signal. We just have to remember that we have a lot of resistance ahead until we clear all of this right here. So maybe what I was thinking was on a pullback and a nice entry or even a breakout tomorrow on Tesla, if you look at it from like the previous day high and low and pre-market high and low, we could get a squeeze back to trace to 320, try to get back to 322, and then we'd be looking at 324.50. If we don't, we're going to probably start pulling back to validate support. And what we would hope for is to find it somewhere in one of these fair value gaps. Now, I'm sticking with the 1 hour chart a little bit on Tesla because I find that to be where we have the most challenges right now with Tesla. So it'd be good to get some confirmations from there for what we're doing with Tesla. There's nothing wrong with a healthy pullback, but as you can see, when we did pull back, ultimately Tesla's low was 227.23 recently, and price has respected that pretty well, as well as this other level I have on my chart at 288.77. And since then, it's really just been on a nice move back up. So yeah, we'll have to see. Let it get above 318. We'll say 318.46 and then start to retrace back up to where we were and the high for for today. And then there is like you can see that we have potential again to squeeze up. I would think that we just have to play it cautious because that 1 hour chart is screaming caution for me. And so that means that if any type of negative news comes back on Tesla, it can kind of spook the market and we get another one of those pullbacks. Above 314, I'm not mad at it. Something else to look at here is that we're forming finally an inverse arc. I was actually pretty stuck on a bearish idea here once we were losing the cloud on the 200 that we could come further down. However, I was finding some support when I was just looking back that could hold us back up. So on charts, I was able to close those. I did do the Black Wolf Chat GPT, and it actually talked me through closing position so that I didn't basically get greedy and think we have more downside. And that turned out to be a very good idea because as you can see, right where I would have been getting out, thinking that we were going to go lower, we actually have started to gap up. Um, this is a nice fair value gap that we can come test on the daily chart if you're looking at it from here. And we're getting the crossover on the wolf trend moving average, which is a customized wolf trend. It gives like the best, in my opinion, the best early detection of a trend reversal. And it plays out every time very well. It just depends on where your obstacles are, right? So look when we got the arc on Tesla here where people would have thought, hey, we need to start jumping into Tesla. We knew one from the wolf chart, there's an order block. We knew also that we were hitting bear territory and we were also getting an arc. And so we lost a 12, we lost a 200. We came test this below this trend line. And so now Tesla's just trying to hold above this trend line, start to regain this momentum, and some good catalysts could have helped to pop it. I've been studying Tesla a little bit more and just kind of watching the moves. One thing I find beneficial is to give it the 15-minute time frame, ORB as well, because if you give it time to prove which direction it goes into, it's going to be more profitable. Because again, if you go back to the 5-minute chart and you initially jump in thinking we're bullish, right? Not giving it enough time. If you take it to the 15-minute chart, you can see that the move was pretty much over with pretty quickly. And so, I mean, actually, yeah, it was over pretty quickly. So this would have prevented you from chasing, right? So you would have waited this whole move right here and seen that we were not coming back up to this 15-minute high. Then you really just got into like a choppy situation here. So again, I do like that support is holding on Tesla above 314. Another on my watch is Nike. Nike has did a nice pullback. It gave a nice trade prior to this gap down. So if you look at it from here, this was all a nice move caught on the 10th. And once we got here, the pullback started to happen. So now we have to look to see if the move is over with. One, look at this insane wick on today on Nike, right? All the way down. That was insane. And then it came right back up. So Nike's on watch. What I would say is watching to see if it holds above 72.18 as one of the moves. We're going to take it a little bit further out, however. And as you can see, one of the things that has caught my attention, and I'll get these lines off. These are just old alerts. Okay, there we go. One thing you can see is that we got an inverse arc, which we know is a bullish signal. And look what happens once we got the 2-week inverse arc on Nike. It gave a really nice gap up from below. And of course, earnings played a factor into this. And so now we're just watching to see post earnings. Do we complete the move that I see here? And do we get back up to the 880s, right? So this could be a nice opportunity for you if you're not already in Nike to consider should you be grabbing positions now. Um, Ideally, getting in around 70 would be great. However, I'm not mad at again where we're holding support above 71.53. So I'll be keeping Nike as a top watch. The move on the 10 was really nice. Wish it would have held, but it really just wasn't giving us signals that was going to hold much longer. The pullback, I think, is a healthy pullback so far. I'm not seeing the stock crash. This is where we met the resistance here. And so once you kind of see that we weren't going to break through that, you just want to try to get in a pullback. And we've tested this order block before. We've been kind of wicking into this, and then another one was created on the 3rd of March. It's a lot to break through here. A cleaner trade on Nike, if you don't get in a pullback confirmation where we pull back in and have a nice retracement back up and another attempt to clear this order block, What you just want to do is maybe set an alert at 82.22. If Apple ever, sorry, if Nike ever breaks above that, then you have a cleaner trade to $88 and plus. We're looking at that from the weekly. Let's just look deeper. Go to the 3 day real quick. Yeah, it looks like that 82 would be a clean break and trade would be cleaner. So if you're not already in from a lower entry and you definitely don't want to get caught holding anything long, doesn't mean you can't catch nice day trades. You just have to remember every time we're getting around $78, we're getting choppy because we have to clear through some of these as you can see, the stock, if you just look at price action, sometimes I'm always telling everyone to go back and look at the price action of a stock. You can just see it with your eyes with not a single indicator on that every time we're here, we're chopping around. We need to break this. And when we break it, we need to confirm that we're holding above that. And then that's when you have your nice opportunities to track back up to $90. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get back into the hundreds. If you're not familiar with the Nike stock, as you can see, we've been somewhere before. So the high of Nike happened in 2021, all the way back at 179.10. And so where the price is now could be a very great opportunity if you believe in the stock. So do your research, understand that we have earnings coming up in September, end of September, and Nike is at a low point right here. So it's actually respecting this wick area right here, which was around $60. And so as long as Nike is starting to show momentum and never getting below that for long term, you might be setting yourself up for a pretty cool opportunity. And then any good catalyst will continue to help Nike break through some of those barriers that we've seen on the chart. So yeah, Nike is on my list. SoFi, if you remember from previous videos, I've been looking at SoFi at the break of 14. I forgot the levels because I cleaned my chart up on SoFi, but SoFi had an opportunity here to break out, and it did just that. I think I was saying like 1450 or something. Watch that. And as you see that we're breaking above it, then we have a nice trade. So look what happens when we broke above 14. Um, let's take it down a little bit because I want to show this from the daily chart. Everything looks bullish right there. All right, so we were actually somewhere down here when we were talking about it, right? Yeah, around 1471. We were around here, 1478. And the move was once we start breaking up out of the $14 range, we're going somewhere, right? And so from there, if you were able to take SoFi, you're already, I mean, you're in so much profit right now because we have broken the levels that I had originally called out. So holding on SoFi has always been, as most people who have had time with SoFi, a very profitable thing. Buy it low and just hold it. Shares, option contracts are super cheap. So now we have to ask ourselves where SoFi is now, what do we do, right? So that's when you have to start looking to the left to see where the stock is. And so where we are now, around the $21, we've been here in 2021. So that's how far out. And where it's chopping at now, it needs to break above 2178 to give us the next retracement. You can see that with this candle. Let's see. Yeah, you can see it with this candle. You can see it with this candle. You can see when we tried to break it, the next time we came back to that area, we rejected. So if you want to watch SoFi and for a breakout move, 2178 would really confirm that we'll try to get back to 22, $23, maybe even 24, okay? So that's the move on Tesla. I mean, sorry, SoFi so far. SoFi so far. Um, let me just go back to where we are now. If you didn't want to look all the way to the left, you could toss in your fib indicator. I mean, you can do auto or just manually pop in fib and see what's the move, right? So if you follow fib, the next area would be the 618 at 2274. Again, that is possible, but I would still look at that 21. dollar level I gave you. I think I said 21.78. I guess I should go back and pop that in my chart as well so I can have an alert telling me when we get there. So, okay, I'm going to set my alert on SoFi for a breakout at 21.78. You can check this out, fact check me, let me know what you think, leave a comment, share your ideas. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, I'll just be looking for healthy retracements on SoFi after this nice pop and see where we can get another entry. The thing with SoFi is we should have earnings, if I'm not mistaken, coming up on July 29th. So any position taken on SoFi for me will be August expirations. I just want to be cautious of any trades. Again, a nice pullback to like test some of this, even to get back to 19 before we do any more pop would be cool. But I'm going to be mindful that maybe we have a lot more investors jumping in ahead of earnings. And so the next move may just be this break of 21.78. You can do a top-down analysis to see where you see some resistance. And look, I see it right here, 22.80. Still a nice move. If you know so far, you can get in the money and catch that whole move right here. And after it gets to that 22.78 area, the next move would have to be breaking out above 24. It'd have to clear this order block and basically hold above 24.39 if we look at the fib level. So far is great. We had some traders who called this out since we had let me take this fib off, the daily floater. Can't remember who called the daily floater out, but it was someone in the Wolf Discord. And I think from this daily floater right here in June, we got a little pullback. That was your opportunity to get back in if you or to go ahead and grab your positions. It respected the trend line and we were off to the races. So a lot of people are like the wolf chart, the indicators and stuff like that. Listen, if you want to trade easy, if you want to simplify things while you learn, you can definitely look into the wolf chart. It's going to give you the clean confirmations as long as you know the system. You just follow it. It works. It has consistently worked. We break our trend line. We're above the 12 EMA. We're not scared of this pullback. We're following our ATR stop loss, and then we're rocketing up. Okay. Not every trade will be perfect. That's why we use a stop loss to protect our capital. All right, let's look at Amazon next. AMZN. Oh boy, I got a few things going on Amazon. So let's see, I'm gonna take this one off and I'll take, no, I'm gonna leave the rest on. So Amazon has earnings on the 31st. Amazon's been lagging a little bit behind everything else hitting all-time highs. So I'm drooling over Amazon and what it's gonna do next. A really nice potential swing opportunity. Um, if you can see right now, we are really just trying to break out next above the 26.68 and hold there. We came back to 226.66 and rejected, and 226.68 was also the key point we need to hold above. So we're still trying to figure it out. Hoping after we get CPI and PPI the way, if the market is remaining, in a very solid uptrend, we'll start to get that breakout on Amazon. But with earnings ahead, I'd get contracts out to August plus, and just remember that we still have a nice opportunity with Amazon to break above this 226, what did I say? 226.68 and really try to challenge this order block. And the question is, will they do that ahead of earnings? I will say if it's going to happen, you don't want to miss out on that move. It's a really nice move. And again, they've been lagging behind after just having a really nice sale. It says Amazon's recent Prime Day set sales records and sold more items over 4 days than before, but fewer specific metrics were shared, making performance evaluations harder for analysts. So the market's still kind of waiting, but doesn't mean with all of the things that Amazon is dabbling into that we don't get that breakout ahead of earnings. If we don't get it, we're just going to watch to see how the market responds post earnings. I won't go any deeper. That's your breakout level for Amazon. Google. We'll do Google and we'll do Apple. Google is pretty obvious, right? Like just look at what we need to do. We need to get above this level here. All right, so we need to get above 181.11. I have it on my chart 181.10, but I look at it right here, 181.11. Right, so we already got our floating candle confirmation, and since then we've just been sideways trading, never breaking the trend line, holding and respecting the 12 EMA. What are we waiting on? And so don't miss out on Google if you're not already paying attention to this one. I just think that it has a nice opportunity to get us to at least 187, 188. And then from there, a even cleaner move would be to come back to the 200s. We know that Google can do it. Um, they've had news, right? Like something with privacy and just other things that have caused the stock market to sell it off and kind of hold back a little bit on it. Again, another one that has earnings at the end of July, so contracts would be to August, considering the fact that Google is just still a good company in my opinion. So what are we waiting on? I don't know. Gonna do some more research to see. But yeah, I think there's a nice opportunity from here for Google to trace back up to 187 at least, and we go from there. If you start seeing it pull back, then you know that the trade plan is not going to work for the bullish move. And so then you're going to have to let the stock cool off, right? If we start losing to 12, if we start losing under, I would say 176, things get a little bit more sketchier. We just need to make sure that we find where support is going to be confirmed. But I do like it above this trend line. I do like it above the 200. And we did get that crossover already. So I think we're just waiting on the breakout from here. That breakout is just going to be that level right here, 181.11. Start seeing rejections, and you just follow your trade. Just remember there's some support here all the way through from this candle right here. So there's support all the way through to 172.77. So if we ever come down, look to see what it does around 172.77. Not wanting to see Google get under 170 and for sure not under 168. We've been held down under 168 so long that I kind of remember that number in my head. So as long as we're holding above those areas, if we do pull back, then you just look to see if you can find yourself another position in Google to catch the ride up. I think it can happen after earnings, if not before. Apple, yeah, I haven't touched the Apple chart, so I guess I need to clean that up. Um, the thing with Apple is kind of the same story as Google and Amazon is that what is it doing? Like we just need to go ahead and make the move. But as you can see, it's kind of obvious if you just look at it from the wolf chart, they have to break above 214.56. And so I was excited about this week right here. I just thought, okay, maybe we're doing it. Every time it just lets me down. So here we are with Apple. I was expecting a pullback after we couldn't hold above 214. Should have just held some puts through to 208, but either way it go, I think as long as we can confirm around 206, this area here, 206.24, we'll be good. I think we can bounce back from that as long as that starts to hold that support. So that would be my idea entry point for a swing on Apple. If you're one of those people that work like me, then you don't really have a lot of time to just be sitting around day trading. It's not realistic. So just catching something, setting some alerts, and just letting your alerts work. I would love to see Google get hit. I'm sorry, Apple. I guess I'm scattered brain a little bit, but what I'm trying to say is if we can get Apple at 206.24, I like it. If we can get Apple even lower, I'm not mad at that as long as it's solid support. But if we just see Apple crashing down, especially when we get to if we get to the 190s, it's just not really going to be worth my chase until the dust settles and we catch it in these order blocks. So question is, do we hold above 208? And do we hold above that 206 20 206.24? Measure your previous day high and low. That'll be your clues. Add in pre-market levels, and that'll be additional clues to follow. Not gonna stay too long on Apple. The story is just it's kind of just in the box. And so we need a breakout. You can just zoom out and see where Apple can go. And that is why you don't want to miss the potential ride up if it's going to play out. Because Apple's all-time high was not that long ago when you think about it in December. And that's when we tapped at 260.10. That's crazy. And we're all the way down here. Best opportunity with the people that started buying in our April dip. But there's still a chance with Apple. So I just feel like don't miss Apple move, right? Um, 214. You need to start holding above 214. And I mean really holding. And then still, it just looks like now we have some resistance that will target probably once we get to 219. But again, why wouldn't you be trying to set your positions up if Apple's going to have that breakout eventually? So it's just kind of in this square. So pullback entries are great. And then when you get a pullback entry, if you're not well forced in options, go ahead and look into getting shares and just setting up your position for shares. Don't forget they have earnings coming up at the end of July. Okay, let me go to my screener real quick, see if I can find a bonus real quick for this video. I plan to do screening tonight, but let's just see if we see anything happening here on breakouts. I'm looking for volume. QS, what is QS doing? Whoa, anybody saw that? Wow, that's nice. QS with a breakout. Came up on the screener, and so it's been on the go, but Quantum has been on the radar for a minute. And so right now, what I'm going to pay attention to is there's still a squeeze here. So if you haven't got in this one, there's still an opportunity if the market allows for it to get to $12. What we're looking at now is that it did try to break Friday's high, and so it did break it basically, but it closed here at 10:05. Friday's high was 977. So we're at 10:05. There is an opportunity to squeeze even more on this one. They have earnings July 23rd. And so we're just getting a lot of these stocks trying to pop out ahead of their earnings. So if we look at it here, yeah, it looks good breaking Friday's high, honestly. I'd have to do a deeper dive analysis, see where, ooh, okay. So look here, we've been some places with QS. I think we reviewed QS before. I don't know if it was on my channel, but they are trying to break out. And so breaking really above this 10:05 is a really nice signal that they can try to come to 11, try to get to 12, and even try to break the high of this candle. So you can add QS to your radar. It is definitely showing some strength ahead of their earnings. And again, the thing is, if you're going to get in positions ahead of earnings, what you want to do is see if a stock is actually moving in a bullish way ahead of their earnings. And if that's happening, then you have an opportunity to jump in and try to catch some of the move ahead of earnings and not be gambling earnings. So this is old sell shares, nothing recent. Yeah, I think this one is actually good. You can go ahead and map that one out and see if you can find a potential setup. What you want to do is set your plan up to see where you can get a good entry. So one of the better entries, if you were getting in today, was to see if it held above pretty high. And once that broke out, actually, let's take it to the 5-minute chart real quick. And then I'm going to start to wrap this video up. So QS would be the bonus call out here. And I just want to see, okay, so here we go, guys. If you want to see how cool it is to follow pre-market high and pre-market low, here is your clue. A lot of stocks did that, all right? So if we look at this, so we have our indicator, the Wolf pre-market high and low. And when we go to our extended hours, just look at that. Break, retest, breakout. So you would have had your entry allowing this retest and confirmation right about 9, and this trade was good all day. And so these aren't going to be expensive shares, or it's not going to be expensive option contracts too, even in the money to play a trade on QS to the upside. And again, I think they still have some opportunities to continue to gap up. If you want to look at QQQ real quick, just on a blank chart following pre, high, and low, look at the break. We did lose it at first, and we validated pre-low as support. And we know from the wolf chart there was a lot of order blocks. We know if we look to the left, price action has been respecting this. So whether you have the wolf chart or not, train your eyes to understand price action. Boom. So we come back to it. We were validated, break, retest, we bounce. And so you've probably seen that with quite a few stocks. Tesla was a fail if you look at it from here. So we break right at opening, come back for the retest. We never bounce out of this box, up or down. This is just a lame trade unless you can catch some quick trades in and out. Nothing special. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. Keep QS on watch as one of our bonus talks. Something that you can look at and see from my screen if that worked out for you or not. Again, try to find good entries on pullbacks or make sure that you get a key signal that we're breaking out before you just jump into trades. I hope that you have a great week. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this video and let me know if you found this helpful. Thank you. Have a great evening.